Coach Brayle Brown. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're awesome, man. Very excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be here, man. And I know everybody says it, but I appreciate everything that you guys do for college football, and not only for college football, but for me and my career, and coming from ULM and knowing you guys and keeping in contact and being good mentors to me. And so that's helped me out a lot. And so I appreciate you guys.
Oh man, well we appreciate you, man. I was going to mention that as well. Played for Coach Todd Berry. Coach Cross was there. Obviously I was there as well. So we all kind of have that ULM connection, and that's
Right.
actually going to be how we start the podcast off. To everybody in the association, Todd Berry is the executive director. For you, that's the guy that walked in your high school, signed you to play Division I football, was your quarterbacks coach as well for 5 years there at Louisiana Monroe. And we recently sat down with Coach Berry and did a segment about the two quarterback system, which I know you're very familiar with, as you popped up on that video quite a few times. What was some of the uniqueness of learning that two quarterback system, as that's not ran everywhere. Obviously, it's probably your first time ever kind of been around that. What was some of the uniqueness, and then how has that creativity that we had at Louisiana Monroe, how has that affected your career? Thinking outside the box thus far.
Right. Yeah. One thing with doing things like that I've learned as a play caller is if you do it once or twice a game, then the team has to prepare for it. Right. So that week preparing for it, they have to take at least a period and prepare for that. And so in doing that, I mean, obviously I was behind Colton Browning, which is one of the best quarterbacks that ULM has ever had. And so the two quarterback system gave me a chance to get on the field if something ever did happen to Colton. And so just getting out there and getting the experience was huge. And it gave the backup quarterback something to look forward to. I mean, I know third series, we're going two quarterback systems, so I was pumped up. And obviously as a backup, you got to prepare like you're a starter, but that's easier said than done.
No
And
doubt.
so, and as far as creativity, like I said, if you do something once or twice, then the team has to prepare for it. And that just opens up windows for the plays that you're going to do the majority of the game.
Right. I wanted to ask you something, because this actually popped up during this little session with Coach Berry. We talked about exactly that, though, that second string quarterback that always had the opportunity to play early in games. And, second string quarterbacks sometimes get to play, whenever you're up big or down big, but you were playing when it mattered. You're playing in the first, second, third series pretty much every game. How does that change the approach? And have you guys ever implemented that, in some of the places that you've been, allowing some of your, not necessarily quarterbacks, but, I know you coach running backs and receivers as well, just giving guys some experience early in the game?
Right. It was huge for me. And like I said, it's easier said than done as a backup quarterback to prepare like a starter. But when you know that you're going to get in and get in when it matters, I mean, it makes the whole week a completely different week, knowing that your series does matter.
Right.
And the last few places I've been, we haven't done it, but this at Oklahoma Baptist, we have implemented a two quarterback system our last game, and it was fun. The guys have fun with it, and football's supposed to be fun. And I think that we get lost in the business side of it, but football's supposed to be fun, and they loved it. And it gave the backup quarterback, which is a great team player for us, and I wanted to get him on the field, just the opportunity to get out there.
I think one of the most unique things about the two quarterback system, and we keep calling it like the two quarterback system, we've all been in places where, you install quote unquote gadgets, right? Like you have like your play of the week where you're like, I'm going to run a reverse here. And so you spend time like putting that single play in, and then you might not even run it, right? It may go 2-3 weeks before you even get a chance to run something. We're talking about this two quarterback system. And I think one of the most unique things about it is, as other team like looks at it, it looks like a gadget, right? It looks like something that is a special, or it's not something that looks like should be run all the time. As we prepared and installed it, we did it like a system, right? Like just like we would do inside zone, just
Right.
like we would do route concept, stuff like that. As a quarterback sitting in the room, when coach walked in there the first day and he was like, I got something here. We're going to do this two quarterback deal, and like started installing it, and then we started building off of it. What was that like for you, sitting in there and kind of watching it go up on the board the first time and starting to process everything?
Yeah, I actually remember the first time we did that, and I kind of sat up in my chair and I looked at Colton, and Colton was smiling. And like I said, we have fun with it. I mean, it's something that you have to have fun with. Like I said, football's just fun, and that makes it, as a backup quarterback, that made it fun. And what was so good about it, like you said, is it's so easy to install because it really didn't change up our offense, really.
Right.
I mean, we still had a sprint out. We still had the backside, bang eight or glance if we wanted it. We just put a quarterback in at running back.
Right. When we built it all on rules, right? Like, I mean, that was kind of the thing. And so maybe like that first meeting, it was like, here's one or two things we're going to do off of this. But as the season progressed, we were able to build more and more rules off of it, create more and more concepts off of it, just like you would anything else in your offense.
Right. And yeah, and it was, like I said, it didn't take up a ton of time for the offense,
Right.
but just a couple of plays here and there is going to make the defense prepare for it. And like I said, it just kept it fun. It was exciting, and Colton was excited about it. I was pumped about it. And I actually caught a pass for Texas A&M. It was supposed to be a decoy route, and they threw it to me and got a couple yards and got smashed.
Was that one on the cut up?
No, that one's not on cut up. But I know we want to get into a little bit of your coaching career here in a second. But speaking of you catching a pass, let's see if you remember 8 left trio. 59. What did we do? 59 righty versus Wake Forest. Do you remember what happened on that play? Because this one did make it on the
Oh, you made it.
Yeah. Oh, it's on the
I threw it before the ball got to me, and I missed it. And I was an all-state receiver in high school, so I'm like, I have the best hands on the team. Man.
Right.
Right out of bounds, right through my hands.
That's right. We were able to pull that win off, but that did pop up on there. Me and Coach Brayle had a good chuckle. We knew you would enjoy that. But Mike, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, no. So we love having young coaches on the podcast to talk about kind of their career and how they've gotten started. You are a young coach, but at the same time, like, you grew up in the profession. Your dad is a longtime, well-respected high school coach in the state of Oklahoma. So I wanted to start there. Like, growing up as a coach's son, at what point did you know you wanted to do that with your life?
Right, and this is kind of cliche, but I mean, as far as I can remember, I wanted to be a coach. My birthday is at the beginning of August, and the very first game when I was not even 1 year old, I went to every single game. So I didn't miss a game until I got to college. And no matter home or away, wherever Dad was, I was. And to get you, but I mean, it sparked something in me. I love being a ball boy, and that's kind of how it started, watching him work. And then right out of college, I got a chance to work with him before he retired, and that was good.
That's awesome, man. Well, you talked about that opportunity to get to work with him. And so you were able to get a little bit of experience, but that first college job, man, it's, Mike will probably say the same thing. I know for me, it was like pulling teeth. It was hard to, get your foot in the door at the collegiate level. Especially if you don't have a relationship with anybody on that current staff.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how you got that first GA position. How did you hear about it? How did you get your name in front of the coach? All of the details of getting that first opportunity.
Yeah, I can remember sitting. So I did that for a year, and I was just a lay coach at a high school. And so obviously you can't make a living being a lay coach. I just did it, like I said, before he retired, just so I could have a year working with him. And I remember getting on the scoop every single morning and being on there till, I bet I emailed 500 coaches and just waiting for that one shot. And I know that's the route a lot of people take, and I'm calling all my connections. And I had a different route because my senior year, as you know, the staff got let go. And so I didn't have a place to immediately go be GA.
Right.
And so I had to reach out to guys, and I go back and look at my email sometimes. I remember sitting there, I bet I sent 500 emails out, and I got an opportunity at Avila, coaching quarterbacks, had my own position, and it was NAIA, but at that level, it was good because I had to do laundry. I had to paint the fields. I was the equipment manager. I was the water boy. I was taping wrists.
Right.
And so you kind of learned a little bit of everything. And so that was a great start. And it's just one of those things where you just try to connect with everybody you can. Anything you hear about a job, anytime a potential opportunity, you have to reach out.
Yeah, I've totally been there in terms of sending out hundreds and hundreds of emails, and it's a little disheartening when you send so many and you get very little responses back. And you kind of mentioned too there, while you didn't have a place to go right out of college, as the staff, you said, kind of got let go there, it might have actually been good, because I think when that happens, all of a sudden, like, all of those coaches that you just worked with for the last 4 or 5 years, all of a sudden they just spread out all over the country, right? And they may not be in a position right then to help you get your foot in the door, but hopefully in the long run that helps kind of grow that network. Like you just mentioned, you're able to meet new guys on new staffs. You've connected there. I think that's a a great way to kind of help grow your network as well. And you kind of mentioned right there, after one season at Avila, you then moved over to Midwestern State as a GA working with the running backs. How important was it for you to get some different experiences early on in your coaching career? You kind of mentioned there at Avila, you were having to do a bunch of different stuff, which I think is great. But how important was that for you to kind of get those different experiences?
Yeah, it's huge. And I put credit to Midwestern for kind of how our offense is now. I worked under Adam Austin, which is a very, very, very good offensive mind who went to Eastern Kentucky the year I left. And he played at Arizona. Awesome guy, awesome coach, incredible offensive mind. And so learning under him and looking at it from a different point of view. So I'm right out of college, I was like, oh, heck, I want to throw the ball 80 times a game. And so it was good to go to running backs because I'm like, heck, these guys are freaking animals. Give it to them. Let's go get 5 or 6 yards, maybe bust one. And so it was a great plan. And then coming to OBU, I coached receivers to start. And so just kind of having all that on your resume and being able to see the offense from different people's point of view is huge when you're calling plays.
You know what? Mike made a good point about how our staff, unfortunately for me and Mike and Coach Barry, that wasn't the best thing for our staff to get let go. But for you, you would have had a graduate assistant with us most likely. You would have did it for 2 years. We would have called the plays the same way. We'd have had some wrinkles here and there. But I recall my first coaching job, and I walked in the door and I knew everything. Because that's what we did at Baylor my previous years.
Right, exactly.
I knew it all. And then all of a sudden we weren't running the air raid. We were actually running, triple option out of I formation. And I was like, oh, man, I got a lot to learn. So, that's great. You kind of made the point of seeing that there's different ways to skin a cat, per se, and get around some different minds and realize when you kind of put all this stuff together, you can create some really unique stuff that's, very specific to you. And with all that being said, man, you were recently promoted to associate offensive coordinator right before this season, which says a lot about how you were able to take all those different experiences, lump them together, and be able to express ideas in a meeting, and the head coach and the coordinator be able to trust you in the game planning process. How did you know you were ready for it? Clearly, other people knew. How did you know you were ready for that role, and what challenges have you faced so far?
Yeah, the biggest challenge I would say is it's not what I know, it's what the kids can do.
Right.
And as a young coach, that's hard because, I learned all this great offensive stuff from a great coach at Midwestern, but if the kids can't do it here, then it's pointless.
Right.
And I can draw it up on the board, but if we can't do it on the field, then it's worthless. And going to that role, I got here as a receiver coach, then got a quarterback coach, and then the passing game coordinator, and then associate coordinator calling plays. And we just had a scrimmage. I remember we had a scrimmage last August, and our head coach was like, "You got the plays." And so I called plays, and we did really good. And so from there, we just took off. And we have a really good quarterback. He's, in my opinion, one of the best in the country. He's an all-conference. He's a player of the year in our conference, and so he makes it pretty easy. He's a stud.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that lesson you just mentioned is so important for young coaches to learn early on in their career, because for whatever reason, as you kind of step out of being a player and into a coach, you kind of dive really deep into learning the game, and you spend hours and hours, right, in the film room, breaking stuff down and really understanding the nuances of what you're trying to do. But for some reason, like, a lot of coaches will forget that, just a year before, 2 years before, like, you got to go to class, you got a social life, like, you have all these other things going on. And so I think it's important to remember that, the kids aren't, doing as much research as you are. They don't have as much time in the day to sit in there and watch as much film as you are.
Right.
And so I think you hit the nail on the head there when you talked about it's not necessarily about what you know and what you can do. It's about what your kids know and what they can do and what you can get done on the field. I think that's a great lesson.
And then another thing going off of that is say we have a great quarterback and really good receiver, so obviously we're going to throw it around a lot. But you have to gear your offense to the guys that you have. And so if you're an air raid guy, but your quarterback is in a good thrower, he's a better runner, now let's switch the offense up a little bit so we can put the kids in the best position to be successful. And at the end of the day, that's kind of the bottom line and the goal. Let's put them in the best position to be successful on Saturdays.
Absolutely, man. You got to talking and then brought me to a story that for me, I guess, is pretty funny. Most of the time we hop on these podcasts, we want to beat our chests about these awesome opportunities we had. I never forget, man, it was my first or second year at Louisiana Monroe. Every spring ball, the spring game, we would let Coach Farmer, our offensive coordinator, Troy Reffett, our defensive coordinator, we would let the assistant coaches actually call a quarter. And I was in that same place. I guess I didn't learn my lesson. I knew everything that I needed to know. And I remember Coach Farmer saying to another coach, before it was my quarter to call, was to not I think we were doing naked. He said, hey, don't run naked, that's not to the quarterback's hand, right? And so bottom line is we couldn't run 212 or with you.
Right.
Been a right-handed guy. And you were in for me. And I called 212, and I knew he told me not to do it. And Farmer looked at me, and was like, "What the heck, man?" And somebody was let loose, and I knew at that point I wasn't ready to call plays because I knew I shouldn't have did that. But it's kind of funny. It just popped in my head there because it was actually with you. But what are some of the things that has aided you in your success very quickly? I mean, regardless of where you are, man, you're about to be calling plays here very, very quickly in your coaching career, man, and me and you share text messages every few weeks or whatnot, and I know how excited you are, and I know how creative you're getting over there. But what has aided to your success to for those guys to trust you so quickly?
Yeah, and going off that, it's been such a blessing at 26 at the time to call plays, and we have really good players, and I think that you can put the best on the board. You can be the best board coach in the world, but if you can't translate that to your players on the field, then it's all worthless. And so I think we do a good job here as a staff translating what we keep it simple, but at the same time we present it like it's very, 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 very tough on film to watch. Like, man, they do a lot of different stuff, but really we keep it simple for the guys. We put a lot on the quarterback, keep it simple for the guys, and let them play fast. And so right now it's a quarterback-driven offense. If in the future, our receivers are more football savvy and our quarterback's not, then we'll switch it up to gear to the players. And so right now the way our team is kind of set on offense. It's exactly how I personally want to run the offense. Quarterback driven, receivers are really smart. We got a great offensive line, a guy that can run the ball, and so it makes our job really, really fun because we bring a new idea and they love it and they get it right away. And so really just having good players that can translate what we put on the board, out on the field.
I know we're getting ready to kind of shut it down here in a second, man, and I'm going to rewind it real quick. Earlier in the podcast, we were talking about this two quarterback system a little bit that we did with Coach Barry. And as we were watching the cut-ups, you had Brayle Brown, who's co-coordinator over there at OBU. You had Cody Wells at Jacksonville State. I think he's coaching receivers this year. He's been there for 3-4 years, has had a tremendous career. You had Pete Thomas throwing the ball around, who's over at Louisville as a quality control player. And, I guess it didn't dawn on me until we were watching the video when we seen you three guys popping up on there, and I'm like, Coach, man, that's a testament to you and how you were able to teach them the game to where they can understand and go have some quick success as coaches, man. So just real quick before we hop off with you, or before Mike has any more questions for you, what has Coach Barry meant for you in your career? Not necessarily as a player. We did have some success there, but I know it didn't end as well as we all wanted it to. But what has he meant for you as you embarked on this coaching journey?
Yeah, and he has probably been the biggest influence, I think, going forward in the college coaching, him and my father. But every time I get the chance to tell, my head coach and position coach is the AFCA executive director. I say anybody, other coaches, other kids, and everybody knows him. Obviously he's a great guy, and everybody in the college football world knows him. And so anytime I'm interviewing, he's at the top of my reference list. And what I love the guy to death. What really is impressive is anytime I need him and I call him, busiest guy in the world, he'll answer or return my call right away.
That's right. Yeah.
And so he's been huge for me. And like I said, anytime I need him, he's just a call away and he answers. A lot of guys, when they get to that level, will, I'll call you tomorrow. He's right away because he loves me and he cares about me and he shows that.
Awesome. Well, Coach, right as we wrap this thing up, man, we always like to give our guys, a chance to talk about, where people can find them, social media, stuff like that, in case, coaches listening to this have questions, they want to reach out to you specifically and connect with you, follow the journey, all those things.
Yeah, man, my Twitter is Brayle Brown 2, and so Brayle Brown 2. And right now we're not in season, and so I'd love to talk ball. I try to search for people to talk ball with. Our quarterbacks are probably annoyed at me because we meet all the time. But right now we're not in season, so we have a ton of time. Just shoot me a DM and we'll talk ball whenever.
Awesome. We'll link all that stuff down in the show notes. We'll link the article or the deal to the 2-quarterback system, which you can find in the AFCA digital library, which will be live after this podcast goes live. Should be up there, right, Coach Price?
That's right. Well, Brayle, thanks so much, man. And I think I might be sending you a DM so we can talk a little bit more ball, man. I'm always interested to pick your brain.
Traveling down Waco, I'm in.
All right, man.
See you guys. Thank you.